The first Devil May Cry sparked my love of action games in general, but as the series has gone on, it's kept its place in my heart because they aren't just about killing every enemy in a room, they're about how you killed every enemy in a room.
Run from this!
Expressing yourself in an almost artistic and highly technical dance of swords, guns, and lots of jump cancels. Devil May Cry 5 is the new pinnacle of this particular subset of the genre, thanks to a perfectly paced campaign that mixes in 3 completely different playstyles, a fun and satisfying story, and quite simply, one of the best combat systems you'll find in video games. DMC5's story is somewhat unconventional in that it starts with events that would normally feel like the climax. You're thrown right into a fight that you're meant to lose. After Dante stays behind to let Nero and a new character named V escape from a superpowered demon king named Urizen, the story jumps around a time period of a couple of months, rotating through perspectives as it tells the present-day story of Dante, Nero, and V, while also explaining the circumstances that led to Urizen's rise to power and V's quest to take him down. There's a great air of mystery to the unknown nature of both Urizen and V. Like Nero, I was never sure if I could trust V and found myself formulating theory after theory about his identity and motives with every new morsel of information that was fed to me.
I have no name. I am but 2 days old. Just kidding. You can call me V.
By the end of its 10 to 12 hour campaign, I still had some questions left over, but overall the plot kept me hooked, and everything looks and sounds stellar. Devil May Cry 5's combat is absolutely sublime. Its beauty is in the depth, creative freedom, and variety its 3 sets of tools offer. If you're playing as Nero, those tools are your revvable Red Queen sword, chargeable Blue Rose handgun, a grapple that can pull enemies towards you, and an ever-growing arsenal of Devil Breakers. My favorite of these disposable mechanical arms, Punchline, shoots out an arm that hones in on an enemy and keeps them in place with quick rocket punches. But the real fun starts when you hold down the Devil Breaker button while Punchline is out, allowing you to do crazy stunts like these. Dante's gameplay is by far the most familiar because he plays almost exactly the same as his DMC4 counterpart, which is to say that he's essentially a Swiss Army knife with a few new tools. He can swap between 4 distinct styles, 4 melee weapons, and 4 ranged weapons, all on the fly. And then finally there's V, who plays completely unlike any character in any DMC game due to the fact that he barely does any of the fighting himself. Instead, he summons 3 familiars to do battle for him. Your familiars can't actually kill anything though, so V has to do some pretty cool teleporting around and deliver the finishing blows. Using V effectively has a pretty steep learning curve, even by DMC standards, due to the fact that you don't actually have directional control over your minions. However, you can use some of your Devil Trigger meter to have them autonomously attack a target, allowing you to focus on dodging, reading a book, or taunting.
You make me laugh.
These missions are the weakest of the trio, mainly because V's movement feels so much more limited compared to Dante and Nero. But that's not to say that they're bad by any stretch. Once you get a couple of upgrades under your belt and get used to the flow of combat, V's unique gameplay becomes quite fun, and it's used sparingly enough to never outstay its welcome.
So it is written.
Though the DMC games have a bit of a reputation for being difficult, on its default settings, DMC5 isn't terribly hard. When you die, you can use a gold orb to revive on the spot, with all of your health and Devil Trigger meters refilled. And those gold orbs, they aren't that hard to come by. If you do run out, you can also revive with the much more common red orbs. Any lack of base difficulty though is made up for with the challenge of getting SSS ranks. To that end, I sprang at every opportunity to buy new style building techniques, which is rewarding because DMC5 is paced in such a way that you are constantly getting new toys at just about every turn. By the end of the story, all 3 of my characters felt like all-powerful gods, ready for the New Game Plus-esque Son of Sparta mode. Finally, a great combat system isn't worth much if the enemies aren't fun to fight. But fortunately, DMC5's enemies meet the high standards set by previous games in the series. There's a great mix of common fodder enemies that allow you to do basically whatever you want to them to build your combos, tanky enemies that require specific tactics to bypass their defenses, and powerful support baddies that can deal big damage from afar and can be very threatening if not brought down quickly. The same goes for bosses, with a few of the later fights being among the strongest the series has ever seen. The question of which Devil May Cry game is the best has gotten much easier with Devil May Cry 5. The combat is the strongest the series has seen to date, with a story that does a great job of balancing all three of its main characters and doling out rewarding bits of its mysterious story at an enticing pace. And the unlockable difficulties, sheer number of techniques to earn, along with the upcoming free Bloody Palace DLC, will provide a ton of incentive for replayability. It's good to have you back, Dante and Nero. Yeah!
Whoa! Yeah!
For more on Devil May Cry, check out the first minutes of the game. And for everything else, keep it here on IGN.